the Centre Court MBA Festival, we focus so much on personal growth through the MBA, about new skills that you're going to pick up, these great networks of your classmates and the alumni. But what if that personal growth is also a benefit to business and society? What if you chose to surround yourself with a community that places value and purpose at the very heart of the MBA experience? Well, for me, that is captured at Notre Dame and the Mendoza College of Business. They have 1 year, 2 year MBA programs. They have 96% accepted job offers for the class of 2022. They're a top ranked school. In fact, The Economist felt that they had the number 2 ranked alumni in the world. So it's a great pleasure to welcome the Dean at Mendoza, Martijn Cremers. Martijn has been the Dean. He's just been elected for second term, so begins his 5th year, and has been a finance professor both at Mendoza and at the Yale School of Management. Martijn, thank you for joining us at Centre Court. As both a professor and now as the Dean of the school, you get to see the institution from so many different perspectives. What do you most love about your job?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. Yeah, this is my 5th year already now serving as Dean of the Mendoza College of Business. Well, prior to serving as Dean, I was a finance professor, kind of minding my own business. By teaching courses, I would teach the main fixed income course and the main investment course to MBAs, first at Yale and now at Notre Dame. And then all of a sudden, I started serving as Dean. Well, I love this job. I love the University of Notre Dame. You know, I love our business school. What I like most is how strategic it is to serve as Dean with a wonderful team of colleagues. You can really think about how can the business school, what can the business school be like in 5 years? I love how collaborative it is. And I also like how stretching it is. You know, I do so many things that I never even thought about when I was, you know, before I started serving as Dean.
Well, we'll be talking about leadership and from an experiential sense, how you then prepare MBA students for that role. But whether you're talking with family back in the Netherlands or a prospective candidate to the business school, how do you like to describe Notre Dame and Mendoza to people?
Yeah, we are the business school of a top-tier Catholic research university. So we have fantastic faculty who are top scholars in their fields, but we also have a shared Catholic mission. That Catholic mission, as it pertains to business, is first and foremost Catholic with a small c. So Catholic with a small c means universal, so based on universal human values. That's really a shared mission of everyone here. So the first of those universal principles is the infinite, intrinsic dignity of every person. That business is done by people, with people, for people. Directly out of that is the importance of solidarity. That business is about having cooperative relationships with all stakeholders and all of God's creation, the environment. And then third and finally, through business, of course, you can improve your life and you can grow as a person. You also do that together. And being in a disciplined environment, like business is, right? Business is a very competitive environment. That disciplined environment requires you to be in a supportive environment, and it also helps you to bring your A game, right, every day. And so we think of competition then twofold. Yes, we want our students and we prepare them to compete well in the marketplace, product market, labor market, financial markets. But we also think about competition in an internal sense, that we want our students to recognize all the gifts that they have received, that they're here to develop those gifts and then to share those gifts with the world. And that is sort of an internal competition towards the best version of yourself. And I think we are the right business school if people are coming here for that reason and are, of course, successful you know, in doing that when they're here.
Right. So whether you're walking across the campus or a finance professor at the front of that classroom, when you think about themes of dignity, or solidarity, or you know, being the best person that you can be, how do you witness that? How do you see that at Mendoza?
We see that, I think, by the commitment of our students, our faculty, and our staff. Now, COVID was a complicated time, but I was very proud of how we as a community came out stronger. So in the academic year 2021, we still taught 95% of our classes in person. I think that's a great testament of the tremendous commitment of our faculty, staff, and our students. So we are a very personal, smaller MBA program. And so there's the strength of our community is one way where you see that. How do we treat each other? How do students grow? How are students challenged? And you mentioned our immunity, you mentioned our alumni community. I think also that is one of the key strengths that we have. And one way to think about that is I love to ask our current students what their experience is in reaching out to alums. And they basically invariably say how generous and open our alums are in connecting with our current students and really helping them out. So we have a strong culture of giving back, and that already really starts when students are here in the MBA program.
Now, lots of options. I mentioned the 1-year program, the full-time 2-year program. There are others beyond that. There are great job placement percentages, and of course, so highly ranked for the alumni that you describe. When you think about all of the core courses, finance included, but also this very personal journey that a Mendoza MBA student is taking, what do you see from when they arrive in school and then a year or 2 years later, how they have grown as a person and perhaps as a leader?
So I think of the whole MBA program as really a leadership development program. Now, leadership is a personal journey, but it's also something that you do in a community, and really that you do lifelong. So we have a particular vision of business at Notre Dame, and we have a particular vision of leadership. And what we hope to see is that students embrace that vision and then make it their own in their own unique ways. So maybe quickly describing that vision, I like to talk about it in terms of our new imperative, which is to grow the good in business. And what that means, I like to talk about the framework of what I call the 3 C's. So 3 words that start with the letter C. So business needs to contribute, business needs to cooperate, and business needs to compete. So contribute to the good of others in society, cooperate with all the stakeholders in solidarity, and then compete externally in the marketplace. And I talked earlier about competing towards the best version of yourself. We introduce students to that right from the start and at the introduction of our MBA program in what we call the leadership launch. So last Thursday, I welcomed our new incoming 1-year MBA students in our accelerated MBA program. And then this week, they're doing the leadership launch. So the framework for leadership that we have developed, Professor Chris Atkins is the leader there. It's called Tender, Strong, and True. It comes from the song of Notre Dame. So tender, strong, and true also refers to people, performance, and purpose. So people, tender, performance, strong, and purpose, true. You can also think about it as the 3 C's that I just talked about in the reverse, right? So we want to compete with excellence, but in a tender approach, recognizing that people come first. So the tender leader is a leader who brings out the best in others. In order to compete as a team, right, with excellence, how do you bring out the best in others? And that requires a certain tenderness to commit to the good of others in the team, seeing where people are, what they are looking for, how they can best grow. And also, oftentimes when you challenge people, when you're in a difficult environment, you make mistakes, and how do you deal with that? Again, with a certain tenderness that requires empathy, humility, appreciation of others. Then we also need strong leaders who are strongly committed to a set of values, are committed to their team, are committed to every person on their team. And then we need true leaders who recognize that there's a purpose, there's a shared purpose of the organization, there's a shared purpose of their team, and who are truly committed to that purpose. Right? For example, they were truly committed to growing the good of business in whatever goods and services that their businesses provide.
Now, if the two of us start singing the Notre Dame song together, we might get more views for this video than the Saturday late night show. It's very tempting. But as we think of
it's a beautiful song, but I'm the worst singer, so yes.
If we think about the pandemic and the need for tenderness, and I think it's a wonderful word for with everything that society has been through, the need for agility and resilience in that. And now, of course, as AI is perhaps turning the world upside down, as you think about your MBA students and they take all of this and those leadership skills to the next steps in their careers, what advice do you have for them, to then be the person that they choose to be the best that they can be as they then go out into the world?
Yeah, so I talked earlier about how the MBA program is really a 2-year leadership development program. So it's a great investment in yourself, in your career, but also becoming part of a community that stays with you for the rest of your career. And you have 2 years to discern, to grow, and to challenge yourself. And so my key advice is to go where there is a strong community that will support you, that will challenge you, and that will stay with you.
Right.
It's really that you're joining a lifelong community, not just a 2-year experience or event.
Right.
Be very curious. Be very open for new experiences. The MBA is a great retreat a little bit, but also really with a real focus on career acceleration, career progression, but also career discernment. To discover more about who you are, the person that you want to become, and the type of leader that you want to become.
Yeah.
So at Notre Dame, we are a fairly small MBA program. We target about 125 income and 2-year MBAs, and then we have somewhere between 40 and 50 1-year MBAs. And so it's small enough that you have in the 2-year MBA program, you have 2 cohorts, and you very quickly get to know everyone in your own cohort, and then throughout the first semester, you get to know everyone in the other cohorts and in the year above and below you. And so in that sense, it's a very personal experience as well, where you really get to know everyone.
Right. With such a strong community and also with the curiosity that you encourage them to pursue. Some applicants will think about business school. Okay, so after the MBA, I want this job role, working at this company, and a very specific path. But the MBA is a very safe place to then explore, to be curious and look at different options. Is that something that you often see from, as individuals arrive, and then, when you see them heading out at the end with graduation, just, how they've used this opportunity to really explore?
Yes, no, we very much encourage both. So we want to prepare students for particular career pathways. And we also designed our curriculum around those, but we also are very focused on helping students to explore and double major and having minors and having new experiences. And so having a growth mindset, I think, is key. And even if you know exactly what you want to do, to recognize that solving complicated business problems requires multiple perspectives. It requires making decisions that are very much informed and by others. You do this with others. Solving business problems is very much an integrated problem, and it requires really teamwork.
Right.
And so even if you know exactly what you want to do, I think it's still very important to also understand many other perspectives.
Right. And with all of those core, we often describe them as hard skills, but the analytical skills, there's also this experiential approach. I love the fact that you will send groups of students into the jungle in Colombia, in Latin America, to work with groups. I mean, that must be a tremendous accelerated learning experience.
No, it was. So I myself visited students in the field. That was in March 2020, just before really COVID hit the United States. So I flew to Cali in Colombia, where we had a group of MBA students who were working with Pasos, Colombia, and they are focused on helping to reintegrate the ex-FARC combatants, but also integrate the campesinos who were basically previously cultivating coca, and now they are looking at changing that to other business opportunities. It was a very challenging but also very beautiful experience. It's a hard-nosed consulting course. It's very team-based, and our students, they are fantastic business problem solvers. Doing so in a super challenging environment is a huge accelerating opportunity. But it's also a beautiful opportunity because you see how students are cultivating their hearts. Right? If you think about empathy, they spend 2 weeks in the field living a similar life as the people they're trying to serve. And it's an encounter of people who are so different from you. And then the third thing that happens is that you have all these hypotheses. You're here in South Bend, Indiana, and yes, you have regular contact with the organization you're serving, but you haven't really been there. And what typically happens is when our students arrive in the field, they very quickly realize that everything is much more complicated and different than they had imagined. And then they go on a certain roller coaster. And I think that's often what happens in business, right? It's very different once you get out there and you actually experience it and you really meet the people you're trying to serve. I think that's a great lesson. And it also shows the importance of teamwork, of getting different perspectives, of working with all the stakeholders, and really trying to understand from the inside out as well the problem that you're trying to solve.
With all of those different perspectives and the diversity that you're bringing together, the shared values, perhaps a shared common sense of purpose, but why is diversity so important at Notre Dame and specifically at Mendoza? And what is the school then doing to broaden the pipeline of applicants that each bring their own very distinct voice?
Yes, so I talked about how business needs to work for everyone in society, how business problems are very complex and require many, many different perspectives. And so diversity, equity, and inclusion are central, right, to business for that reason alone. But also about the earlier values I talked about, right? The intrinsic, infinite dignity of every person, the importance of solidarity, right? The importance of the ability to, when you make a business decision, to really think through how your business decision will affect everyone that it will affect. That's very difficult to do if you don't really understand how other people who are so different from you are experience life and how they think and what they care about. And so you are just a better business leader if you are better at incorporating diversity, equity, and an inclusive approach. So our MBA program has a fairly large international group of students as well. We've also grown our percentage of women and underrepresented minorities in our program. And we recognize we have some further growth to do there. But we've been building, in the last couple of years, we've been building partnerships with other organizations to help us, right, related to your latter question. So how do you broaden, right, this pipeline? So we have several partnerships now with national organizations and diversity advocates, starting with Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, which is the first intercollegiate Greek letter fraternity for African American men. We started that a couple of years ago, and we've had, I think, we're very honored by this partnership. We work with the Forte Foundation, and we just started collaboration with that at MidMe Access.
So lots of opportunities, and I'm sure as we think about business school, as recently as 20 or 25 years ago, case studies of Jack Welch at GE we weren't talking about tenderness. I'm not sure that we were talking about, dignity. So with where Mendoza is today, how do you see graduate business education continuing to evolve in the years ahead, perhaps both in its delivery, but in terms of what it's looking to bring at the personal level, but to business and society? How do you think that's going to continue to evolve?
I'm hoping that we continue to be very comprehensive and have an integrated approach. Yes, we want the students to have the hard-nosed skills and be very competitive. We also want them to be great team players, and we want the students to give a sense of how important business is for society and how important business is to improve the lives of others. How do you do that? Well, we very much are focused on experiential learning. And on the other hand, we also are focusing very much on analytics. So both experiential learning and analytics are two great growth areas. We've hired tremendous faculty in both areas. And we're just adding another significant coursework on analytics in our MBA program. We started a model way in Silicon Valley last year. It was a great success. Actually, last 2 years we've done this. So for 1 quarter, we call them modules at Notre Dame. For 7 weeks, we send students who are interested in technology and analytics. They go to Silicon Valley. They are taught by some Notre Dame professors and some professors there. They do projects with local tech companies. They meet a lot of alums and business visits and really get a sense of what it is like to be an entrepreneur, to be a business leader in Silicon Valley. As another example of something innovative, where we take our students to where our alums are, where the action is, where the jobs are. In general, I think the MBA landscape is rapidly changing. It's becoming even more global and international. We also see that in our applications. I also see a lot of online and hybrid, and that is probably not where we are going. We very much are committed to an in-person community collaboration, and I don't see us making major moves in online or hybrid education.
Right, really sort of placing that community in the face-to-face experience. So with our viewers from all over the world thinking about the next steps of their personal and professional development, everyone I've ever met at the school, Joe Sweeney, Craig Crossland, the list is a very long one, so warm, so welcoming. What would you encourage our viewers to do, to get in touch and find out more about the program, talk to students and alumni perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. So reach out. If possible, visit us. There's a lot you can learn from online and events like this, of course. But I think it is something special to be here, to be on our iconic campus and experience Notre Dame right in person. And yes, talk to our students, talk to our alums. I think our alums ultimately are our main and strongest and most loyal and devoted ambassadors. Any Notre Dame alum, please ask them about their experience, and of course, especially if they are business school alums.
Right, and maybe they'll sing too. We managed to get to the end of the interview without a song. We'll save that for.
Yes, please ask the singer alma mater and about being tender, strong, and true.
We'll save that for another moment. But Martijn, thank you for talking with us at Centre Court and sharing, the experience where you've had these different roles and how your enthusiasm for Mendoza just continues to shine through. It was a real pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.